All right, you're good to go.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Orange Township Board of Zoning Appeals for Thursday, May 20th, 2021. Mr. Beard, if you'd call roll call, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trebs.
Yep.
Everyone's here.
Thank you. We'd like to swear in witnesses, please. Anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State I do, and when it's your turn to offer testimony, please state your name, full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in. Also, anyone who intends to offer comments or testimony throughout the online chat room function also needs to be sworn in remotely. Before your initial comment, please type in your name, address, and words I affirm to indicate that you solemnly swear that the testimony you are giving is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I don't see anybody in chat at this time.
Thank you. The first application is variance application VI 2026. Mr. Beard.
All right. We'll start with the staff report. There are some changes to the staff report. As you can see, I crossed out some of it. The applicant and owner for this application is Marwin and Laura Deek. The site is 7526 Hillgill Court. Parcel ID number of 318-421-02-021-000. It's zoned single family plan residential district. They were requesting an area variance to install an in-ground fiberglass swimming pool. They're seeking a 9 feet variance from the current rear yard setback of 35 feet. The applicant is part of the rezoning case 17677 of Wilshire East. And they're requesting the variance for the 9 feet and the 35-foot rear yard setback. The subject property is located on the west side of Hillgill Court. Surrounding areas to the north and south are single-family plan residential districts. They have single-family homes. To the east is an empty lot. It's Wilshire HOA. West is a single-family plan residential district. It's also a single-family home. You have a zoomed out aerial of the site. You also have a zoomed in aerial of the site. For the staff review, the area variance from rezoning case 17677 Wilshire East. Rear yard requirement: no structure shall be located closer than 35 feet to the rear line of any lot. Children's play sets shall be exempt from this restriction if located at least 5 feet from the rear line. The pool will encroach 9 feet into the rear yard setback. The applicant is requesting a 9-foot variance to encroach in the rear yard setback. The retaining wall that is shown will not have footers, so it does not meet our definition. Since it does not meet definition of the structure, the setback goes to the pool, as in the other pool that we have. This 9-foot setback will be a 25% variance request from the 35-foot rear yard setback. One item to know, if you look at the aerial, the property that is under question is highlighted. That is part of Wilshire East. Their rear yard setback is 35 feet. The properties to the west of them that abut that line on their rear property line is part of Wilshire Estates. Their rear yard setback is only 30 feet. Just something to be aware of, that there is a little bit of a difference with those adjoining lots. I will give you an exhibit of the site plan, showing the pool dimensions and rear yard setback encroachments on the west side. And we have a zoomed in of the site plan. And then also a visual that they showed possibly what it could look like. Street view from Google Maps, and then an aerial from Google Satellite. Also, the next thing here is we had received some letters from neighbors of support. On this map, the property owner address is highlighted in blue. The properties highlighted in green are letters of support that we had received. We did receive some concerns that were passed along in the first meeting, and then there was a letter that we received today that we passed along to the board members as well. Here we'll have some site photos that we'll show here. And this is this cone was where the retaining wall, close to where the retaining wall was supposed to be. So really it's going to be 6 feet this direction to where the pool will be located now. So it is a little bit off. At that time, we thought the retaining wall had footers. It's been changed since then. And this is looking from the back of their house out. And this is looking from the south of their property, looking north of their property. And that is all that I have for that case. The applicant, I believe, is on here. If they wish to speak, we can unmute them. They can unmute themselves.
Mr. Deep, before you start with your presentation, I would like to make a couple of comments, please. One thing that I was not personally aware of, that with Zoom meetings, there can be anywhere from a 2 to 5 second delay in audio. And because of that, I know that there was some discussions and so on in regards to being able to, or what I perceived as being able to talk, some were talking over each other, myself included. So please, let's be respectful of the 2 to 5 second delay in Zoom, and stay respectful of that, and try not to talk over each other and be professional. So with that said, Mr. and Mrs. Deeg, if you'd like to make your presentation.
Yes, good evening. My name is Marwin Deek. I reside at 7526 Hillgale Court, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the swearing in process, if you can walk me through that.
If you would state I do, that you've solemnly swear the testimony you'll provide will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And affirm that you've been sworn in.
I do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, I guess. I'm sorry.
You're good.
You're good.
Thank you. So I appreciate the opportunity. We embarked on getting a pool, I think, like a lot of people in our area, once the COVID thing started, so our kids would have something to do while they were being homeschooled. And we're falsely under the impression that our setback was similar to our neighbors behind us, and come to find out we had 5 feet less than our neighbors did. And we developed a plan, but for the pool that we're trying to get in there, it really would have been very, very tight and very close to the house if we're not able to get a variance. We're not asking for a lot, and if even on those pictures, I think by Mr. Beard's assessment, that cone would actually be moved closer to the house in terms of the easement that we're asking for. So it'd be even well within the current patio that we have in place right now. I don't, with everything that we had a meeting about this, I think maybe a little over a month ago, I can't recall the exact date, but one of the concerns that was brought up was that of drainage. And we decided to table this particular application because I have similar concerns, and I'd come to find out that a lot of the neighbors also were having drainage concerns. However, the people that did raise the drainage concerns are basically upstream from where our property sits. So all the water, I would assume gravity would make it flow downward. So it's literally all flowing into our lot. We've met with the EMHT architectural firm that originally did the development in that neighborhood. And yeah, they assured us that with the proper drainage system on our lot, we would actually solve the problems that we've been dealing with. They also assured us that we wouldn't have any issues, or our neighbors wouldn't have any issues with drainage. One, because our drainage will be better than it currently is right now, even though we have French drains. But secondly, like I said, we're 6 feet lower in elevation than our neighbors are. So I don't see that as just from a physics perspective being an obstacle.
Laura has.
I just want to. Hi, my name's Laura Deek, and I live at 7526 Hillgale Court. And I swear to tell the truth regarding this matter here. I just wanted to correct you, Mark. We didn't meet with EMHT. We talked with him a few times. He is the original engineer of the development. And when we talked to him, or when I talked to him, it was a couple of different conversations because he had to review our property and the grading, and he did not see any issues as long as proper drainage was done to our property. And he did suggest that outside of the pool drainage that we add some additional area drains, which we were planning on doing anyways because of the fall of the water from other properties that fall onto our property. We did talk to, we also talked with Matt Lehman from Delaware County Water and Soil, and he basically said the same thing. He did not see any issues with drainage as long as we put the proper drainage in on our property with our pool. And I also contacted an outside drainage company, and he came over and walked our lot, and he said pretty much the same thing. This was professional gutter and drain, and we spoke with Dustin Moore. And we are probably going to work with him or another outside drainage company outside of the pool drainage once that's completed, just to kind of address any issues we have around our property outside of the pool. But all three seemed fine with what we proposed to them and what we were doing, as long as we had the proper drainage pit in our property with the pool.
If I can jump in, I believe that, we were just concerned that you should be looking at that because you're the one that's putting up all the money for this project,
Rick,
Or
you're
go too
sounding
far.
very garbled.
Very garbled. It's probably my internet.
That's better.
But yeah, I mean, those concerns were for you to explore and to really check out in the project.
Would you be kind enough to repeat what you said? I didn't hear all your statement.
I was just saying, I think when we reviewed this prior, our concern about the drainage and all of that was pretty much for them to be aware of and to investigate before they invested this kind of money in this project. Not so much for us. that was just for you.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Oster. This is Mr. Shipley. I agree with what Mr. Oster's saying there too. And in that letter, I
Yeah.
noted Delaware Water and Soil said that there's no negative impact on drainage. So I'm not sure drainage is an issue for us or a concern.
Yeah, it's not a concern for us. We just, you know, sometimes we will say something to somebody with their application that, you know, you're the one putting all the money into this. And I would be sure of, you know, all the ramifications before you do. But yeah, that wasn't one of our concerns.
Okay, Mr. Deek or Ms. Deek, is there anything you'd like to add or?
I'm sorry, but I could not hear what he was saying. It was kind of choppy.
Yeah.
Very basically, man, what was stated is that we have a tendency to give some guidance on comments in regards to drainage, et cetera. Since you have been in contact with the Delaware County soil, et cetera, really that is not part of our hearing process unless it is a major flooding area or a major topographical issue that can cause flooding, et cetera. And since that the position of your property in correlation with the adjoining properties, this would not be an issue with us.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And that's a very good point. And that was a major area of concern for us. And you are correct. That was something that actually set us packing to find out whether it's going to be an issue for us. But I do recall that was a concern of some of our neighbors as well. So that the reason I wanted to address that is to assure the neighbors that our project will not make their drainage issues any worse, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. I recall this case pretty clearly. And we were just, and as I recall, you were like one of the lowest anyway.
Mhm.
And we just wanted to make sure that you were, you know, looking out for yourself, so to speak, before you move forward with this project. And it seems like you have.
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Deek, is there anything else you'd like to add or?
Um,
I think you can address the privacy concerns, honey.
yeah, it's in our best interest that we want as much privacy as possible on our property. So we are going to do, hopefully, it will be sufficient enough, several bordering trees, of course, outside of our fence that you see there, along the back of the property. And if there's any gaps, we're going to add additional shrubs. It's going to be, the plan is to make it as private as possible for us. And hopefully that gives privacy to any neighbor around us as well.
Anything else you would like to present?
I
No,
think that covers it. We will obviously have the safety fence, a safety cover for the pool as well. So all the safety concerns are going to be addressed. Aside from that, I think that pretty much covers everything that we're asking for with regards to the 9 feet for the variance.
Yeah.
And just to confirm that your safety cover will be a lockable cover, is that correct?
Yes. It will be automatic and lockable, and with the fence as well.
Good. Is there anything else you'd like to present?
I don't think so. Unless there's any questions you have for us.
I don't. Is there any other questions from any of the board members?
Miller, this is Mr. Shipley. I have no questions. I've looked through this. It's a 9-foot variance. As I mentioned before, Delaware Water and Soil mentioned the drainage was no impact, so the drainage piece isn't anything I'm concerned with. So I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Oster?
Nope.
Mrs.
None.
Sindar?
No.
Mr. Kev? Is there anybody that's in the chat room or any other
Nobody in the chat.
offer comments or testimony?
If you heard that, there's nobody in chat.
Okay.
Yep.
There is
There
one
was-
chat
There
in
is
there.
one chat, yes,
Yeah.
but they're in
Yeah.
favor of the pool.
It says they're in support of the pool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll make a motion for VA 20-26 that based on a number of factors, one, the side neighbor setback of 30 foot, the Delaware Soil and Water letter and support, the neighbors' support, and the design changes and changes that y'all putting forward. I will make a motion to approve VA 2026.
I'll second that. If you can hear me. I don't know how bad my internet's jumping.
Yeah, we heard you, Rick.
Okay.
We had a motion made by Mr. Miller to approve variance case VA -20-26, seconded by Mr. Oster. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Ms. Sindar.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. I hope
Thank you,
y'all
folks.
cool.
Thank you very much to all the board. We appreciate your help.
You're
Yes,
quite welcome.
thank
Take care.
You're welcome.
Mr. Beard, VA 2104.
All right, the variance, next case is variance case VA -21-04. Its applicant owner is Cheryl and Donald Everett. The site is 5255 Loudon Drive. Parcel ID number of 318-220-12-015-000. It's zoned single family plain residential district. They're requesting an area variance from rezoning case 13-0302 North Farms to allow the construction of a fiberglass pool with a retractable safety cover system that will encroach in the rear yard setback and to allow a fence lower than 5 feet. The applicant is requesting an area variance of 10 feet and 6 inches into the currently 35 feet rear yard setback in an area zone single family planned residential district. The applicant is also requesting a variance of the height of the fence surrounding the property for a already installed 4-foot fence, then the required 5-foot fence per the Orange Township zoning resolution. The subject property is located on the southeastern side of Loudon Drive. The site is owned by Cheryl and Donald Everett. And they're requesting the 2 variances, one for the setback for the rear yard and one for the height of the fence. To the north, south, east, and west are all single-family planned residential district with single-family homes. Also, there's open space, HOA open space, southeast, kind of east, and then a vacant lot also behind them. You have a zoomed-out aerial of the site and a zoomed-in aerial of the site. The staff review, the rear yard, and we're just gonna, for the staff report, we're just gonna go over the first variance request. We'll discuss that first, and then we'll come back to the fence after that. So for the first variance request is for the pool setback. The rear yard setback is 35 feet. The pool will encroach 10 feet, 6 inches into the rear yard setback. It's requesting a 10 feet, 6 inch variance. This would be a 30% request. Last month, it was at a 46% request for the variance, size of the variance request. So they've decreased it by 16%. There's an exhibit showing the updated site plan. It shows the pool 24 feet 6 inches from the property line. This exhibit 2 is the neighbors, shows the neighbor's rear yard that goes along the red line and where theirs is. Exhibit 3 is signatures of neighbors that are support of the application. You have a site photo of Google satellite. There's a map that shows the applicant property in blue, and then letters of support are highlighted in green. We have some site photos. This is looking from North Road to the rear of their property. This is also from North Road looking to the rear of their property from the HOA open space. This is from the rear of their house, looking back to the rear property. This is from the side looking towards where they have steps and where their door comes out from the house. And then we have the cone is pretty close to where the pool, the edge of the pool will be from the rear property line. In your packets that you received, there was an updated from the HOA that they had contacted them and let them know that their design had changed, and the HOA's response was that they would update their file, as the HOA had already approved the original site plan. And the applicant is on here. If you wish to have her present.
Good evening, Ms. Everett. Would you please affirm that you'll provide the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely. My name is Cheryl Everett. I live at 5255 Loudon Drive in Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035, and I do affirm. I wanted to start this meeting first by thanking everyone for their time. I do appreciate the feedback that I received from our previous meeting. I did contact the pool company, and we sat down and came up with a new plan that hopefully would, work out for everything. I will say there's a couple other members on here, so I just want to introduce myself and here, my husband, Keith Everett, and I have 2 young boys. We've lived in this area almost 3 years. Love the school district. Everything is great. So I want to reiterate that I did get the HOA approval, and I did contact them and spoke with them about the redesign, and they said that they would add it to my file and that it wasn't an issue. I have spoken with multiple neighbors at this time. As you can see, the signature list that I got, that they were in support. So I'm requesting a 35 by 16 fiberglass pool installation. I decided to go with a concrete apron around. I am doing a retractable safety cover system. There will be an electric water heater pad and a full depth sump tube dewatering system to the pool. And I did decrease my other variance request. As Mr. Beard stated, I went from a 46% request to a 30% request. I also want to reiterate that after speaking with the pool company, they do have a rule that they cannot go more or less than 10 feet away from the house. So seeing that I have this L-shaped house, I have a morning room with a basement underneath. So that's considered part of the house. So I have to be at least 10 feet away from that morning room. There are, if looking at the easements that I have to the left of my property, I can't go too much further that way because I will encroach on those. I can't get too much closer to the house because I have to be within that 10 feet. And also the steps, looking at this current picture, I have this little tiny deck that will be removed, and there will be concrete steps coming off the morning room, and the design of the steps will create a 5'8" amount of walking space between the end of the steps and the start of the pool. So looking at my design, they kind of put the arrows to the corner of that morning room. If I were to move that arrow to the corner of the steps, it's 5'8". Research has shown that you need 4'6" between two adults to pass safely between any passing. So I think having that amount, we talked the last meeting a lot about safety, and I think that was overall my biggest concern going into this project, was making sure that there was adequate amount of space from stepping out my back door to the pool. So I feel like I have moved the pool up a substantial amount, and knowing that I have this lockable safety cover, I feel has met a lot of the standards that would be expected for this type of request. So again, I thank you for your time. I'm open to any and all questions regarding placement of the pool. If you looked at my old design, I did even flip the pool so that this 0 entry would be towards the door rather than the other side. So it again adds another safety feature that the shallow end is at the entryway from the house. So thank you very much.
Ms. Everett, thank you for your presentation, and I appreciate the fact that you've the importance of safety and how you've tried to, or how you've made modification to your design. Again, I do ask that anybody that has comments, whether it be the board or anybody else that wants to provide testimony, please be respectful to 2 to 5 second delay in Zoom. Any questions or comments from the board, please? Mr. Oster?
Yeah, it pretty much looks like you're going to move it up, and that's going to be like a concrete patio that's going to go up to the house. Is that, that's kind of what I was suggesting originally, because I think you had an undeveloped space there that you were leaving for a deck, as I recall.
Yes, sir. I had originally thought in my mind to do a deck, but then given kind of this, when you put in a deck, you want a good amount of entertainment space. So that amount of space with the smaller amount of concrete just didn't make sense in my mind. So given that I had to do a bit of redesigning, it came down to, you know what, let's just put in all concrete and make it just very level with the house. And that way, when you step down, it's just straight onto the concrete. And I put the steps, I made them a little bit bigger just so that I love the idea of stepping out the house straight into something like you would with a deck. But with the steps, I can at least get a little bit of space out and then down to the concrete. So I think that was a good idea to just make it all one solid concrete.
Yeah, well, your new plans look exactly what I was thinking, and I think you'll be happy with it, and it's a good compromise, and it's shaved off about 6 feet.
Yeah, 36%.
Yeah. So I like it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Shively, or excuse me. Mr. Treff, any comments?
No
Question?
comments. All mine have been answered.
Mr. Shipley?
No, I think I'm good. The, that 10 foot, 6 inches is extending into HOA, space, and the HOA has no issues with it. They've approved it. So, as I kind of stated before, I don't have an issue with it at all.
Ms. Sundar?
I'm good. Everything seems to be good. Yeah, I really like the stars planning and, yeah, enough space and safety. Everything looks good. Looks good to me.
Is there any comments from the Facebook chat?
They're all in favor of the pool. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe.
Good, you've got some good support for it, Cheryl.
Yep.
Anybody else? that would like-
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to approve VA-21-04 as submitted and revised this session.
I'll
I second.
second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I second.
Sorry, I started talking before I was unmuted. Motion made by Mr. Oster to approve variance case VA-21-04 for the setback for the pool. Seconded by Ms. Sundar. Those voting Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes,
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
Motion carries.
If I can just make one comment for all the North Farms residents, I know you've been with us for a couple evenings this week, so thanks for your time.
enjoy your new pool.
Thank you.
Well, we still need to go over the fence piece also.
Right. Right. And now I.
Sorry.
Oh, I missed that.
-21. Oh, four. Is it?
Allowed to present on that? Oops.
I'll make a motion. Excuse me. Is there any comments from either the chat room or from the board in regards to the fencing?
Nothing from the chat.
I'd like to make a comment if that's.
Please.
Sure, absolutely.
So I sat down, did a lot of research after our last conversation. Again, very respectful of suggestions with safety. I read a lot about safety covers versus fence and a 4-foot versus a 5-foot. All the research that I did cited that a retractable safety cover with a pin number, which is what we would do, was by far like number one as far as accessing the pool. I know if it's open, that's a different story, but for me, my children and all of my surrounding neighbors, their children are in swim lessons, which is so important to me. We even went and visited my brother's pool, and I was like, boys, you have to put your life vests on. Like once you step off a certain step, anyone that knows me knows that water safety is, I'm actually a little over paranoid about it in a good way. We're putting security cameras on the back of our house. We are locking that fence. And then again, that retractable safety cover with the type of fence that we currently have. It's very difficult to climb over it. Now I know anyone could do it. High schools, if a 2-year-old wanted to, they could shove something up there and get over it. It doesn't matter if it's 4 or 5 feet, in my opinion. If they really want to get over it, they can. But I think I've taken a lot of steps to provide safety measures that, a lot of counties don't ask for 5 feet. They just ask for 4. So walling off the pool, Mr. Beard, I don't know if you have the design picture that I emailed you as far as the kind of look at what I'm envisioning as far as the bushes around. I believe I emailed that to you just so they can kind of get a look at what I would think as far as the bushes that I would like to put up to kind of wall it off. including, the fence that exists. I think the only other hardship I would like to note is that my neighbor to the west of me installed their fence prior to me moving in. So as far as like adding to it or trying to do a 5-foot fence off a 4-foot fence, it just aesthetically didn't make sense. So those were just a couple topics that I wanted to make sure I touched before. I just want practicality, but I also want safety. That's my absolutely number one concern going into all of this. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And we're probably going to have ours changed, but unfortunately right now it's not changed, but I'm good with it. The hardcover is a big plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think, like a lot of others, it would make up for no things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mr. Oster, if you could be a little bit closer, maybe to your mic or something like that, you are breaking up a little.
It's 1 inch from my lips.
Okay.
Is everybody having trouble hearing that? I'm wearing a headset. I'm not sitting in front of my laptop like yours.
Oh, well, you're just breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, you're pretty consistently breaking up.
Yeah, it's probably the internet connection. And, I can recall here a while back, it went out completely and I had to run over to Orange County.
No, we just lost you again. I'll make a motion.
Hey, Mr. Miller, if you could real quick.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Shipley, I just think it's important to note that, and I'm in favor also, but when we talk about the fence piece, Orange Township requires a 5-foot fence. We don't require a safety cover. So the mitigating factor, I think, when I think through this is that we have a 4-foot fence. It's already in place. It doesn't seem to make sense that you would tear out a fence, try to add to it to bring that to 5 foot when you're going to go the extra step and have that safety cover. And for me, that's kind of the deciding piece there. I think there's a 4-foot fence. It's already in place and you're going to have a locking pin controlled safety cover. And I think that just makes sense. I think that's.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that all we need to do is add the verbiage in there that the hard safety cover that's lockable is going to be added.
Right. And I think that was the point I was making was that, we, and if this goes this direction for approval, is that, based upon the safety cover being installed, a 4-foot fence, so on and so forth.
Yes. Right. Yeah. When that motion's made.
Right.
I was almost going on to the exact same direction. That based on not only county, surrounding townships and towns, the international pool standards, they have much higher credence with the lockable pool cover than the fencing issue. I do agree that presently Orange Township does require a 5-foot fence, but in my opinion, that probably will be changing as we move down the road. So I will make that motion to approve VA 2104 based on the locking system and the design changes you made.
And I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Miller to approve variance case VA-21-04 for the fence based on the locking cover in place. Second by Mr. Shipley. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
Carries.
Congratulations, Cheryl.
Enjoy your pool.
Appreciate that.
Okay, Mr. Beard.
Hang on. There's in the chat room there. Lucia Ledger, Legger. I'm sorry. Wants to know if there's a pool.
I think Michelle just answered her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just popped up on mine. Never mind.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beard, CU 2105, please.
All right, the next case is variance case VA-21-05. The applicant owner is Matthew and Rosalie Finner. The site is 5681 Hickory Drive. Parcel ID is 318-210-27-020-000. Zone single family plan residential district. They are seeking an area variance from the Orange Township Resolution Section 21.05A for the installation of an in-ground pool whose location will be within the 25 feet setback from the right of way of a residential street. The applicant is requesting a 12 feet and 8 inches into the 25 feet setback of the road right of way in an area zone single family plan residential district. The subject property is located on the southern side of Linden Street and the eastern side of Hickory Drive. The surrounding areas to the north is single family plain residential district. There's vacant land to the south, east, and west are all zoned single family plain residential district. There's one single family home to the south, to the east and west. They're vacant right now, but there is one being built to the east of their property. We have a zoomed out aerial of the site and a zoomed in aerial of the site. At the time that the auditor site's image was taken, that house was not built. So that's why it's a vacant lot in these pictures. For the staff review for the front yard requirement, they have a front yard requirement is 10 feet setback, which they meet that. The other section is 21.05 water impoundments. It's all water impoundments such as ponds, lakes, or swimming pools shall be constructed and developed in compliance with the following standards. And A is except adjacent to US Route 23, no impoundment shall be located closer than 25 feet to the right of way of any adjacent improved road. No impoundment shall be located closer than 50 feet to the right of way of US 23. This pool will encroach 12 feet and 8 inches into the right of way setback. The applicant is requesting the 12-foot 8-inch variance. The request would be roughly a 51% request. You have an exhibit, the site plan that shows the location of the pool, which is here. Exhibit 2 is a measurement diagram that staff had created on the site visit. And the right of way starts on the edge of the sidewalk and goes to the pool. And then we have a site photo from Google Street View. This one is shows the property in blue. Then the letters of support are in green. The properties that have the slashes in it are vacant, currently vacant right now. And these are site photos. This is Kona's, the location of where the pool will be located. And this is looking from the road towards the house. As you can see the construction there. This is looking towards that property. And this kind of shows the street from the right of way distance. And this is another one. And the right of way ends at the edge of the left side of the sidewalk. Is where the right of way is. We do have legal counsel present on the call. This is just looking from the front as there's an intersection there to see that. We do have legal counsel on the call. as this permit was originally approved, as it met the building setback on this front setback. Since it's a corner lot, there's 2 front setbacks. So it met the building setback for the front. Then it was brought to our attention that the water impoundment section was not met. So we were advised by legal counsel to rescind the application. Since that time, the Evans Farm has approved their application. That was part of the application that they provided. And as you saw in that picture, they provided over 15 letters of support for this application. The applicant is on here, so they can present if they wish.
Mr. Fenner?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, my name is Matthew Fenner. I'm at 5681 Hickory Drive in Lewis Center. In response to the affirmation, I do. Mr. Beard provided pretty much a good synopsis. Again, we're just looking to install, we're calling it a plunge pool. It's a relatively small pool, a 7x21, and it's only at a 3.5 foot depth. You can tell the layout of our property, and it's common for properties in our neighborhood. We actually do not have rear yards, so small front yards, small side yards if applicable. So given the layout, this is the only place we can put an improvement on the property. We were cognizant that when we first started down this path to make sure we stood within the build line of the property. So we purposely designed a pool and a surrounding patio area that would fall within those parameters. And we had on good faith from the township that would be acceptable. As Mr. Beard said, we had that in good faith. We actually had initially an approved permit, but then this other part of the township zoning came into effect that kind of overruled those parameters. So that's the reason we're here, seeking a variance.
It's 26 feet from the road.
Yeah, I mean, from the way we've got it laid out, the distance from the road right of way, that's to our build line. So we're staying within those parameters, yet we're constrained by the roadway easement. Regarding that, I mean, as far as I understand, the main purpose of that zoning rule is, for safety and for traffic considerations. This is a residential street, so it's not like a thoroughfare or a throughway road. And the way the zoning code is, it really just, differentiates Route 23 and then every other road in the township. So there's really no further breakdown based on different road types. So, it's a residential road. We're on a corner lot. There's a stop sign near our property. So the speed limit's 25. It's, slow moving residential traffic. Given the size of the pool and the depth, I don't know that particular spirit of that zoning regulation is really, really makes sense here. But, we understand that that's how the code's written. So we're submitting a variance application for that purpose. So that's really all I have. Open to any questions from the group.
Quick question. Do you consider this a plunge for cooling purposes or as an exercise pool?
No, it's not an exercise pool, so it won't have a recirculating feature. It's purely just a plunge relaxation pool.
Just a cooling pool like they would have
Yep.
Arizona, etc.
Yeah, we're actually on one side of the pool, we're building like a bench into it. So the primary reason is, floating in it, sitting in it, that kind of thing.
Okay. And a cover?
We are not installing any kind of a retractable cover on this, no. We will be putting a standard 5-foot fence around the pool, around the paver patio installation as well. So we'll have a standard fence around the property. And we are also, with our paver patio, we're going to put just like a landscape wall around the border.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part, please.
Repeat.
We're putting a standard fence around the pool area itself, but we are along our paver patio. We're putting in like a 3-foot landscape wall around the perimeter.
Okay, good. Thank you. Comments from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Miller, Mr. Shipley, I read through this package, and the town architect, as Mr. Beard stated early on, completely approved their design to the tune of setback is in there and appearance standards. The fence piece is in there, and the amount of support within the Evans Farms community there, with the maintaining the urbanism look and feel and everything that goes along with that, I think is well laid out in the paperwork and in the submission. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Oster?
Is it possible to take this to private session so we can discuss?
I couldn't hear that.
Did you catch that?
Uh,
I'm sorry.
I think I got it. Rick, are you asking to go into private deliberations?
Or yes. With legal?
I think that's possible. Chris, that's if you're there. If you can, do you think should we open it up for everybody else's comments first and then go into it, or what would you recommend?
I would recommend opening it up to everybody else's comments first.
I concur. Ms. Sindar, do you have any questions?
I really, I think I will wait on my comment more. I'm looking at the possibilities of really not doing more encroachment on this. Yeah, give me some time. I am just reading well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Trev?
Yeah, the only thing that I had was you have no yard, period.
Very little yard, yes.
Yes. When I first saw your application, I was just confused as to how you planned it well, don't get me wrong, but I was a little shocked that it was approved, and I now know why it's here. So I do understand your concerns. So that's all I had to say.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments from Facebook Live, or anybody that would like to voice their concerns or questions?
I'd like to, if everybody can hear me, Dan Griffin, the developer of Evans Farm, and the Fenner's neighbor. And I concur that this not only is the landscape design exactly what we're looking for with the new urbanism and the small lots, but the pool being 3.5 feet deep certainly takes it outside the intent of the real estate law side of a water impoundment / pool within 25 feet of a right of way. There's no question. There's case law on it. Frankly, that rule was done in order to, if somebody was driving fast, went off the road, they didn't want them going into a detention basin, which we have all over the county anyway, within 25 feet of a right of way. But the important thing is to have those fences and landscaping and pillars that would stop any vehicle, for some reason driving off the road. In this case, the Fenners have stepped up to a new level, and it really looks not only safety-wise, but architecturally really fits within the community. So we are 200% support of it, and so are all the neighbors.
Question to you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a newer community, and I'm sorry, I don't know like how many lots like similar to this property, or how many lots are there, like how many homes, how many properties are there similar to this dimension?
Oh, mostly all of them. If you see, this is a 55-foot lot. To the west, they are 55-foot lots, and then they go all the way down to 40-foot lots. Then to the where the parade of homes was in the center, that's where I live. Those are 68-foot wide lots, and then as we head east, we get into some of the lots that are not alley loaded, and those are 70 to all the way up to 100 feet that back up to Bryn Mawr and Meadows and Lewis Center. So, a lot
so the lots, so the homes also like this size. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the information about the lots. So the house size also like something similar to 5681.
Yeah, they're positioned on the lot. The house size is commensurate with the size of the lot. So they all sit on the lot. They're very, the new urbanism, we gave 400 acres, close to 400 acres of green space throughout this entire project, when zoning would require 2. And the reason for that is people would like to spend more time in a community, walking around, doing activities, than they would cutting their yard on a Saturday. So it's really, there aren't big yards. There's little courtyards in most of the houses until you get over to the far east, where the 100-foot wide lots allow for more of a significant backyard.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. It's been a, this project's been a passion for all of us, and appreciate the board. Orange Township has been great to work with for the past 7 years, and I know we're going to be here another 15 or 20 with this project. So thank you, all of you.
Good. Dan, if you would, you did provide your name, but would you also provide your address? And
Dan Griffin, Evans Farm developer, 5672 Evans Farm Drive.
And state, if you would. I do.
I do.
Thank you. You got to be legal.
That's right. That's my ethical obligation as an attorney.
There you go. Any other questions or comments from the board? Are there any questions from other people that want to either provide testimony or from Facebook chat? Okay, Mr. Beard, if you would you take us into private session, please? And Mr. Fender, what that means is the board, it has been requested to discuss a couple things in private with the attorney, or corporate attorney, and we will be coming back to you.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could, for just 1 second, the board is permitted under law to deliberate in private. They cannot make a decision in private, so they'll be back to make a decision.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Miller, who do you want in the private deliberations?
The entire board and Chris and Michelle.
I'm sorry, Chris, am I able to be part of this deliberations, Chris, or should staff stay out of this?
No, they can invite in who they want. If they want you to be a part of it, that's fine.
Okay, just
Please.
want to make sure. Thanks.
Okay, we're slowly coming back in.
I think everyone's back in, Jerry.
Yeah.
Mr. Oster, are you back in?
I am, if you can hear me.
Okay, good. Okay, we are coming back into session to continue the discussion of CU 2105 with the defenders. One thing I do want to ask again is if there's anybody that has been in the Facebook chat room or anybody else that would like to make either comments or testimony. Michelle, can you tell us if there's somebody there, please?
I don't see anybody in the chat room, and
Yeah, I don't either.
you know, if there's any other public comments, feel free to mute yourself.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that the defenders would like to bring up before we continue with from board comments?
Yeah, the only other thing I probably failed to mention that I think is relevant too is, again, I know the right of way, I think measures from the edge of the sidewalk, but it's in the application too. But I mean, we pointed out, I mean, the edge of the pool is from the street itself is a little over 26 feet from the street. So if that's at all relevant or wherever, I just wanted to point that out too. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to add at this point.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I have none, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Oster?
No, no.
Mr. Trost?
Nope.
Ms. Sendar?
Did she make it back?
He's technically there, yeah, but it's still muted.
Okay, I would make a motion to deny CU 2105. And the denial is predicated on the terminology of body of water. That based on the right of way to the public roads, et cetera, that the plunge pool would not meet code.
I'll second.
So
All right, so we have a motion made by Mr. Miller to deny application VA-21-05, predicated on the definition of the body of water with the location to the right of way of a public road, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
No.
Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
That motion carries. The application has been denied.
So what is our legal recourse
Yeah,
for
I was
the
gonna-
next steps?
I was gonna say, do we have any other recourse at this point? I mean, we understand a pool is considered a water impoundment by the zoning, and that's why we're going through the variance process. So not sure I follow. Like, was there something else relevant?
Chris, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe at this point in time you would need to seek legal counsel on that matter.
Yeah, the board cannot provide legal advice to you at this point. So you would be best if you have questions. You're certainly entitled to talk to legal counsel about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely have our attorneys be in touch with you hopefully tomorrow to determine. I just, based on your past experience, not sure what the next steps are when to appeal the decision or to escalate that. So I don't know in past history when something's denied, what are the next steps that people take?
There are available appeals out there, but your attorney could advise you on that.
Great.
Yeah.
Mr. Beard, the next application will be CU 21-06.
Mr. Chair, before you get started with that, I'm going to leave the meeting at this point, but thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chris, for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you
Really
for-
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Mr. Betts. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good
If you
evening.
heard me. Thank you.
All right, the next case is variance case VA-21-06. The applicant and owner is Beth Brzeznicki. The site is 7315 Africa Road, parcel ID number 318-414-01-021-000. It's zoned farm residential district. The request is seeking an area variance from the Orange Township zoning resolution, section 7.06F, for the installation of an attached garage that will fail to meet the minimum side yard setback. The applicant is requesting as I crossed it out on the staff report here, I realized I did some poor math. It should be 17 feet and 6 inches into the current 25-foot setback in farm residential. The subject property is located east of Africa Road. The site is currently owned by George and Beth Brzeznicki. They're requesting the area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution for attached garage that will be within the 25 feet side yard setback. All surrounding areas to the north, south, east, and west are zoned farm residential district and have residences on them. We have a zoomed out aerial of the site and a zoomed in aerial of the site. For the area variance, side yard requirement is 25 feet. The attached garage will encroach 17 feet and 6 inches. It will encroach 17 feet, 6 inches into the side yard setback. So the applicant is requesting a 17 feet, 6 inches variance for the side yard setback. This would roughly be a 70% request. Exhibit 1 is the site plan showing the proposed variance setback. We have a site photo of Google Street View. No, at the beginning, this was map that shows the property address, and then the circles where the the attached garage will be located. The green is the letter of support, and then since then we did receive an email for the other property that abuts at the rear of this property that was in support of it also. And then we have some site photos. This attached garage will be replacing the carports that are there. These carports have been installed for many years. We do not have any records of a permit being pulled for these carports. Based on our definition of a structure, these would be considered a structure as this carport is anchored with posts into the ground. Based on the application, they're removing the shed that's behind it here, that is near the property line, and then we'll have the attached garage will be the same footprint that is already there. So they are not encroaching any further than what this carport is, but it will have the same footprint. So there's some more photos. And this is looking from across Africa Road. previously there had been trees here. I believe there's a road project that's happening, so they've been removed. And this is the neighbor that was in support. As you can see the location. It shows the supports into the ground. And this shows the other portion of the property with the big drainage coming underneath the culvert of the road. And that is all I have for this, and the applicant is on here if she would like to speak.
Good evening. My name is Beth Bresnicki. I reside at 7315 Africa Road in Galena, 43021. I want to say I do, and I affirm I have been sworn in. Thank you, board, for your time this evening. As you can see, the structure there in question is some kind of makeshift carport that is not overly aesthetically pleasing. And so nor is the barn behind it. So what we were proposing to do is to take all of that down, including the barn, and then we would just install a stall attached garage. We would match the slope of the roof of the current home, which is a 1212, and we would just construct the garage.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Beth?
There is, on the site plan, it would make sense because of the setback to put the garage on the left side of the property, which would be on the north side. But there is a public sewer line that runs down the side of the house that is a public sanitation, and the entire side of that house would have to be reworked. Plus we would probably be on top of the public sewer line to create that garage. And so that's why it makes more sense to not disturb that public utility, but to just go ahead and ask for the variance for a structure that kind of already exists. We were just going to make it much, much prettier.
A question, is there a second home behind yours?
There is a log cabin and, for lack of a better term, a she shed. Back here that I'm sitting in currently, there's two cabins in the back of the property. I believe the resident that was here before me had his residence or had his business back here.
Okay.
But currently we use it as a wood shop, and I let my grandson come out here and use Play-Doh. But we do need to access it back here because there is gravel back here so we would have to add more gravel because sometimes the substantial stream that is on the property does overflow a little bit, and that washes away some of the drive in the back. And so we do need to access back here, obviously, to get to these buildings too. And it's too narrow. That's the only access to the back of the property, which is I want to say probably 3/5 of our property is behind this access point of the concrete. So anything that we would need to do behind the property with any kind of vehicle, if there was a tree that fell down or anything like that, where we would need to get that removed, we couldn't access it unless we use that bridge to get to it. And then there's no way to make a curve if we would put the garage on the north side of the property to get around to get into this existing bridge that takes us to the back of the property.
So where does the concrete stop in relationship to the picture that we currently have on our screen?
I have some other pictures of it. It is, there's Exhibit D. I don't know if you have that. There we go.
There, okay.
So I don't know, that, is it 120 feet-ish?
But it's off the back side of the house.
Correct. It's off almost the covered porch area, and it starts a concrete, because we had, when we got here, the entire driveway would erode away. The gentleman before us only had like two 18-inch culverts for that river, stream, creek, whatever it is, and that was just not adequate. So we hired somebody to do this concrete bridge and installed 3 24-inch culverts to keep it from eroding away. And that, we had rain less than a month ago that was pretty substantial there in about a week's time, and it did not erode away at all. So it did keep up. So that was a huge plus. Where the manhole is on the site for the public sewer in relationship to that curve to get into that concrete area, there's really no leeway. Exhibit F1 shows there's the stream right here. Oh, okay. Next one. The manhole, you can't really see it because of the poor quality of the picture. I apologize, but you can tell that on the site plan from the county, it shows that manhole in the stream, but that's not the case. It's up closer to the house.
Yeah.
It's not, it's in our yard. So that driveway is probably, it does open up to get wider onto the concrete. It's probably 12 feet wide. So there's no way to get any kind of larger vehicle around that curve if that's where if the 2-stall attached garage was to be right there. Plus, I don't know where that public sewer goes. I'm assuming straight parallel to the street. And we can't, there's got to be some kind of easement there. We can't build that.
Yeah. I was just curious, trying to get my bearings on your property.
Yeah, I do plan on taking down that hanky little canoe storage thing right there by the manhole, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Shipley, any questions?
I have no question.
Ms. Sandar?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. No questions.
Mr. Oster?
No, not really.
Is there any comments in Facebook chat?
Nope.
Is there anybody that would like to testify or make comments? I will make a motion on CU 21-06.
Jerry, it's VA.
Oh, VA.
Yeah.
My apologies. To approve as proposed. It would dramatically increase the aesthetics, property values. It would prevent flooding. And based on that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
A motion made by Mr. Miller to approve variance application VA-21-06, seconded by Ms. Sandar. Those voting, Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Enjoy your new property, ma'am.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a limit on how long this variance is? Because with the price of lumber, I can't afford to do the garage right now. So I'm hoping maybe I have a year or two. Is there a time limit?
Beth, the variance stays with the property, so the variance is good for the life of the property. If you do, you'll have to submit for a residential permit.
Sure.
Those permits are valid for a year. So
Okay, well, I can do that.
whenever you decide to apply for it. But once those are approved, they're valid for a year, long as construction started within that year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you
And
very
then,
much.
I'm sorry, Beth, just one thing too. The variance is only for whatever the setback and or the, if you try to go closer to the property line from what you propose, you will have to come back. So.
Oh, that's fine, because I could propose a 24 by 24 and Jeff had mentioned what that was. So that's not a problem. Not a problem. at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have the minutes. Does anybody have any comments, changes, corrections?
I had absolutely none.
Really?
Yep.
No. Kelvin.
My
have-
eyes must be failing me, or Jeff is doing really, really well.
You are really good. I did find one, and now I can't find it. I didn't have my pen when I was reading through this.
Personalities
And-
are
And I do have one on, let me see here, where did I circle that? Line 198. For some reason, they called me MF or Oster.
Oh,
I thought that was funny. Obviously, nobody else did.
oh
huh?
yeah. I see it now.
Yeah.
that You said that.
Yeah.
that would be page 4 of 21.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, now that you're a manufacturer, Mr. Oster,
Yes.
That's right. I don't know what I'm manufacturing, but I did see another one in here when I was going through it, and I thought, oh, okay, make a mental note. Well, that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And those were the only two that I saw when I was going through there. 'Cause, boy, I tell you, sometimes the mistakes are hard to find for me because you just kind of skip right over them. And there was a couple. There was one I remember that said NN, and I think there should have been a comma there to kind of separate, and that's not a big deal. And sometimes when
unless
you run into it,
your microphone fixed or whatever, poor Cindy's gonna have
yeah,
challenge to listen to type these up again.
yeah, well, I don't know what's going on. You guys are talking just a little, but I don't know.
Okay, anybody care to make a motion to approve the minutes as noted?
So moved.
I've got a couple corrections. Sorry.
All right.
Go ahead.
Page 13 of 21 on 659. There's question marks for what Rick had said. It should be wood stoop step off. And then page 16 of 21, line 797. On those question marks, it should be only putting 3 feet around the pool. Would be what those question marks are.
791,
797.
797.
Yep, page
Only
16 of
putting-
21.
Okay.
So those are what I have.
Yep. Yep, and I was surprised that, well, obviously that meeting was pretty constructive, and I went back through the minutes just to kind of refresh myself, and I thought everything looked pretty good there, and she brought up all her points, and we were just trying to help her out a little bit as far as, have you looked at this or have you looked at that? But yeah, I agree. We shouldn't be doing any of that. It's a matter of it's yes or no based on how they submit it. Sorry about your luck. If you heard all that.
Trev has made a motion for the approval of the minutes as corrected. I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Krebs to approve the minutes from April 15th, 2021 as amended, seconded by Mr. Miller. Those voting, Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Oster,
Yeah.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Ms. Sandar.
Yes.
Wow, now that was choppy.
There you go. Hey, I do want to thank y'all on one thing. I appreciate the fact that everybody really tried to abide by the 2 to 5 second Zoom scenario. I did not realize it was that much of a delay. And that we all were respectful of not talking over each other, et cetera, and that we stayed on track, and that some good open dialogue. So I appreciate it.
I just want to, if I can talk about one thing before we end the meeting.
Sure.
The Open Meetings Act is not being extended due to the restrictions being lifted for the pandemic. So we legally have to have in-person meetings starting in July. Now, if the board has any discomfort with that, feel free to reach out to us. But we will do any practices that you would wish as far as social distancing. And if we do need to have some type of hybrid approach, we can coordinate that. But we do need to start having them in person starting July. And I'm happy to answer any questions now. But I just wanted to let you all know.
Nope, I look forward to it because that way there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and this delay and talking and internet. Yeah.
And you guys will actually be the first board to have in person because the trustees won't have a hearing till after yours. So I think it'll be set up like it was before. Again, if we expect a lot of people, we'll do social distancing. And actually, we don't have any applications for June, so we can either not have a meeting or we can take advantage of that open meeting and do the ethics training. So think about that. I'll have Jeff send an email out, and we have to coordinate with our legal counsel. But if you recall, when we did that one training, there was discussion to have the second one. So
can Jeff do like a cookout so we can kind of have a small party outside there? I mean,
we can do the ethics training in person. I mean, we can start doing that. It's something, if that's something you guys want to work or do, I'm happy to, it'd be more of a roundtable discussion at that point. It might be easier to talk. So, well, we'll be sending emails out, and if you have any concerns, again, feel free to reach out. So that's all I have.
Does that mean Jeff's going to be shaving when the restrictions are lifted, or was that not the case?
He did have. I noticed he had a haircut recently.
Did he?
It all depends if Jeff gets permission from his wife. Jeff's awful quiet.
Oh, there it is.
He's stroking his hair. Wow, look at that hair. He did get it. You get caught under the lawnmower or what?